So that brings us to the close of the academic sessions. There is a closing ceremony. I pass this on to.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure all of you must be lost in the intellectual world, the intellectual feast that we have had during the last 2 days, and starting off with, of course, Hasrat Mohani and the ghazals that he had written. So we started off with literature, and we take a full circle and close it with a paper on anthropology and literature, and how writing is one of the tools with which we are able to understand people and social life of a past period. Unless we have the written word and writing, and remember in one of the papers yesterday, writing for the woman in Islam was at one time not accepted. It was not acceptable for a woman to learn to write. So we have come a long way where we are able to write and we are able to speak, and our voice is being at least heard in a small circle. When I was listening to all these presentations, I was fascinated by this notion of how we have been able to center Vakkom Moulavi, who has always been in the margins, and the way in which concentric circles and centers have been formed in the 2 days discussions. We have shifted the center, as it were. Voices which were once silenced and which were not heard. When I say voices, there were voices but not heard. But I think in the 2 days seminar that we have had here, I'm sure the students would have benefited a lot from the voices that are heard and debated. I must thank Dilip Menon for having chosen such a topic for the 2-day presentation here on tradition, dialogue, and dissent. When Sajida told me about the title, one of the things that came to my mind was, do we first think about tradition and then we dissent and then we start a dialogue? Or do we think about tradition, then we start a dialogue about it, and then we begin to dissent and come to rearrange frames? And that is exactly, I think, the center of this seminar, which has been very, very fruitful and which has been very, I should say, an intellectual feast, an ocean of knowledge has opened up before me, and I'm sure it has opened up for all of you as well. So many areas, as some of the students here, when I discussed with them, told me, these were things that were so new to them. They had not heard about these things. So this platform, I think, has been extremely fruitful, and I must thank all those who have, in fact, been responsible for giving us this opportunity to center a philosopher, a reformer, a thinker, who has always for a long time been marginalized and who has now been brought to the center of our debate. And from this center has, in a way, like the waves that go out of the ocean, I must say Vakkom Moulavi has started the stir of the waves to go from him to so many parts of the world. I take this opportunity, having said that, I take this opportunity to thank everyone who has made this seminar such a wonderful event. First of course, as I said, Dilip Menon reserves a standing ovation for what he has done. And I must thank Hari Krishnan, who is there, yes, for having been such a support during the entire organization of this conference, calling him up late at night, sometimes in the middle of the night, and telling him, join our Zoom conference, we need to talk to you. And he has always obliged. He has been a wonderful person, running around and helping us in every way. And I must also thank him for the Zoom connections that he set up, which were Paka, I should say, because today morning, because I couldn't come, I was able to sit and listen through the entire session without a hitch. And I think we really need to give him a good applause for that. and of course my students, Ahana and Nitin, who are running around during the 3 days of the seminar, I should say, who has been responsible for getting things together along with the VMFT staff. And among the office staff, of course, I should especially mention Lakshmi, who arranged all the transportation for people to get here on time. And that is really hard work, to see that you get to this place on time and start the conference at the appointed time. So a big hand to Ahana, Ayana, Nitin, and Swayam. I would also like to place on record the VMFT board, which authorized us to go ahead with this. We were thinking about what we should do in order to bring Vakkom Moulavi to the world's attention and to the academic attention. And I think that is what I find most fruitful about this seminar. We have had students, faculty here who have listened to this wonderful presentations of so many senior scholars who have done such a lot of work in this area. And our students have been exposed to this. And I'm sure we are going to see in the next few years a lot of research that will be taken up by the students of the University of Kerala. And for this, I need to thank the Department of Islamic Studies, West Asian Studies, and Dr. Ashraf is there. A big clap to him for having organized this. My thanks, of course, are to the BMFT Foundation for having organized this, and of course, Sajida, who's the backbone of the entire conference. Yes. 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 I stand corrected. It is, when I say Dr. Ashraf, of course, I meant the entire group behind him who have worked tirelessly, all the students who have been, in fact, catering to the food, seeing the delegates around, and, in fact, helping us with all our needs. So thank you so much, students and faculty of the Islamic Studies Center. Thanks to Suhair sir, who very quietly sits back and sees that everything is in place and running as per schedule. Thanks to you, Dr. Suhair, for having done such a wonderful work. He's tired out after the 3-day event. No conference is complete without its speakers. And I must say, Dilip Menon has been able to get for us a wonderful array of speakers, specialists in so many different areas. And it was like a sadhya for me as I sat through it. You know, there were so many different side dishes to taste, with, of course, the rice at the center, Vakkom Moulavi. So this is the dining that you had today, and I'm sure that that is the feast that we carry with us. And the feast of eating, the feast of intellectual cramming and intellectual thought, intellectual reasoning, intellectual curiosity, critique. This is what we carry with us today as we go home. And I want all my students out there to realize that this is only the beginning of the rich activity that we are, in fact, hoping to have from you, where we will have a lot of research in this area. And BMFT is very fortunate to have digitized most of the magazines, the journals, as well as some of the newspapers that we have. So please make use of the rich resources that we have at the VMFT. So this is the beginning of a continuing dialogue, and I hope all our speakers here will come back to us again, and I hope you have loved being in Kerala and in Trivandrum during your short stay. So thank you all very much.
I just quickly want to say a few things. First of all, thank you to the Vakkom Moulavi Foundation Trust, to Ashraf and the gang that supports him. Also the staff here who helped with probably the best Zoom coordination I've witnessed in my entire career. And I have, no, seriously, I have made presentations abroad, and the Zoom is when the seminar just begins to collapse, where it's, can you hear me, can you hear me, can you see me, and so on, and here everything went seamlessly. But what I came up to speak about largely was that artists need patrons, so do academics, and it's wonderful to have such a generous patron like the Vakkom Moulavi Foundation Trust, which made this possible, to bring in scholars from Berlin, from England, from all over. And so thank you very much for making this possible. And also for bringing out the volumes, which now will secure the fact that younger generations can now access these. And it's not just online and as digitized, but it's actually hard copies available. So where do we go from here? I mean, one of the things is that very often when we stage events in India, it's like watching fireworks. Right? I mean, there's a huge display of light, then the fireworks end, and then there's darkness. But with every conference that I've held, we've proceeded towards a book. And so this conference will also be published as a book. And we are setting deadlines for the people who presented papers. And I hope each of you who have presented papers have been listening intently to the other papers. Right? We all tend to be narcissists in our own work. We tend to, think deeply with our papers, but I think we need to be more attentive to all the strains and the affiliations, because when we think about this project of situating Vakkom Moulavi within a larger landscape, it's very important to remember the connections that we are trying to make with other states, with other princely states, with other traditions of Muslim reform, other kinds of media, and so on. So to put it briefly, we are hoping that we can get all the paper givers to hand in a more or less final draft by September this year, and which is a long period, really. And I shall be on your case starting from around July, and I shall be persistent and ruthless, and I shall even visit your door and ring your doorbell if the papers are not with me. The other thing is that once the papers are in, we hope to publish it with a university press. So we want to submit it to a series, and I had a conversation with Mahmood Kuria. We want to submit it to a series published from Cambridge University Press, which looks at Islamic cultures and so on. So we'll begin there. But otherwise, the plan is that we shall publish with Rutledge, and there's, because I've published a whole series of conference volumes from Rutledge. And if we are thinking about that if everybody keeps to time and we have the submissions by September, papers are refereed and we get some feedback by February, people write up the revised versions by the end of April, right? And this is how my schedules have worked so far. We shall have our book out in December 2026. So that's a schedule that I'm working with, and I hope all of you will see this as something that does matter, because I think this is not just an academic volume. We have seen the reason why there have been such numbers in the room, 200, 150 people who've come every day and sat through, is because he's an important figure, and it also represents a particular intervention made from the history of Kerala into the larger domain of the history of modern India. That dialogue has been lacking so far. We tend to all get cooped up in our particular regions, and this is one way of actually speaking from Kerala to the world. And I think this is something that has become evident to a lot of people who have been attending the seminar, and I've been very touched by the attendance. That there have been students who have come here without being coerced, without being enticed, who have come of their own accord and sat through, right through to the bitter end. So thank you all for the audience for being here through all of this. So thank you, and hopefully this will be the beginning of a silsila of events. Thanks so much.